She walked into the upscale restaurant wearing ripped jeans, an oversized hoodie, and zero makeup, dressed to sabotage a blind date she never wanted. But the moment Kang Min-ho's eyes locked onto hers across the dim room, something primal and irreversible snapped into place inside his chest. She wasn't polished. She wasn't trying. She was real. And in that single heartbeat, the most dangerous man in Seoul realized he just found the only woman who could destroy him. Welcome to Unfold Korean Stories, besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. The restaurant was called Moonlight Terrace, perched on the 42nd floor with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. Crystal chandeliers cast warm amber light across white marble floors and tables draped in silk. It was the kind of place where reservations required 6 months' notice and connections that money alone couldn't buy. Amara Chen had never wanted to be here. She tugged at the hem of her oversized black hoodie as she stepped through the glass doors, painfully aware of how out of place she looked. Her natural curls were pulled into a messy bun, her face bare of makeup except for lip balm, and her ripped boyfriend jeans had seen better days. She'd dressed specifically to make this blind date end as quickly as possible. Her best friend Sujin had set this up despite Amara's protests. Just one date, Sujin had begged. He's successful, handsome, and my cousin says he's been single for years. What's the worst that could happen? The worst, Amara thought grimly, was wasting 2 hours of her Saturday evening pretending to be interested in some corporate drone who probably expected her to giggle at his jokes and pretend his stories about golf were fascinating. The hostess, immaculate in a black dress, gave Amara's outfit a barely concealed look of horror. "Do you have a reservation?" "Blind date," Amara said flatly. Under the name Kang Min-ho. The hostess's face went pale. "Mr. Kang is already seated. Please, follow me." Something in the woman's tone made Amara's stomach tighten with unease. She followed through the restaurant, past tables of Seoul's elite dressed in designer labels and dripping in jewelry. Conversations paused as she walked by. Eyes tracked her with thinly veiled judgment. Amara lifted her chin higher. Let them stare. The hostess led her to a private corner booth set apart from the main dining area by frosted glass panels. "Your guest, Mr. Kang." Then she practically fled. Amara stepped around the partition and froze. The man sitting in the booth was not what she'd expected. He was younger than she'd imagined, maybe early 30s, with sharp, aristocratic features that could have been carved from marble. His black hair was styled back from his face, revealing intense dark eyes that pinned her in place the moment they met hers. He wore a charcoal three-piece suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, the jacket hanging on the booth beside him. His white shirt was rolled to his forearms, revealing tanned skin and what looked like the edge of a tattoo disappearing under the fabric. He was beautiful, dangerously so, but it was the way he looked at her that made her breath catch. His eyes widened fractionally as they traveled over her hoodie, her jeans, her bare face. Then something shifted in his expression, something dark and hungry and almost reverent. He stood slowly, unfolding to his full height. He was tall, at least 6'2", with broad shoulders and a lean, powerful build that his expensive clothes couldn't hide. "You're Amara," he said. His voice was deep, accented, and sent an involuntary shiver down her spine. "That's me." She gestured to her outfit with forced casualness. "Sorry I'm not dressed for," she waved at the opulent restaurant. "Whatever this is. I didn't realize we were meeting somewhere so fancy." "Don't apologize." His eyes never left her face. "Sit, please." It wasn't quite a command, but there was authority in his tone that made her feet move before her brain caught up. She slid into the booth across from him, and he sat back down, his movements controlled and graceful. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Amara shifted uncomfortably. "So, Kang Min-ho, what do you do?" "Business," he said simply. "Import, export, investments. Nothing interesting." That was clearly a lie. Men who did nothing interesting didn't make hostesses go pale at the mention of their name. "And you?" he asked. "Sujin mentioned you work in graphic design." "Freelance," Amara confirmed. "Mostly remote work." It pays the bills. She reached for her water glass just to have something to do with her hands. Look, I'm going to be honest. I didn't want to come tonight. My friend set this up and wouldn't take no for an answer. So if you want to just order an appetizer, make small talk for 20 minutes, and call it a night, I'm completely fine with that. Something flickered in his eyes. You want to leave. I'm just saying we don't have to pretend this is going anywhere. And what if I want it to go somewhere? The intensity in his voice made her look up sharply. He was leaning forward slightly. His dark eyes locked on hers with an focus that felt almost physical. You don't even know me, Amara said. Then let me. He signaled to a waiter without breaking eye contact. We'll have the tasting menu. And bring the Chateau Margaux. Mr. Kong, that bottle is. I know what it costs, Minho said quietly. Bring it. The waiter vanished. Amara frowned. I'm not really a wine person. Then we'll order you something else. He tilted his head, studying her with unnerving intensity. Tell me something real about yourself. Not what you do for work. Something true. Why? Because I want to know you. You literally just met me. And yet, he said softly, I feel like I've been waiting for you for years. The words should have sounded like a line. Cheesy and insincere. But the way he said them, with quiet certainty and something almost like wonder, made them feel like a confession. Amara's heart kicked against her ribs. This was dangerous. This man was dangerous. Everything about him screamed power and control and barely leashed intensity. I like to paint, she heard herself say. In my free time. Abstract stuff mostly. It's not good enough to sell, but it helps me think. What do you paint when you're angry? The question surprised her. Red. Lots of red and black. Sharp edges. And when you're happy? Blues and yellows. Soft shapes. He paused. Why are you asking me this? Because I want to know what makes you feel things. His voice dropped lower. I want to know everything that makes you who you are. The first course arrived. Something delicate and artistic that Amara barely tasted. She was too aware of Minho's eyes on her, tracking every movement, every expression. Your turn, she said, trying to regain some equilibrium. Tell me something real. He was quiet for a moment. Then, I'm not a good man, Amara. I do things that would horrify you. I live in a world where trust is currency and betrayal is common. Most people are afraid of me. Should I be afraid of you? No. The word was absolute. You're the safest person in Seoul right now. Because anyone who even thinks about hurting you will answer to me. A chill ran through her. We just met. I know. He reached across the table slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his fingers brushed against hers. The touch was electric. But from the moment you walked in here, looking like you'd rather be anywhere else, dressed like you were trying to sabotage this date. His mouth curved slightly. Something in me knew. Mine. And I'm going to spend however long it takes proving to you that you want to be. Amara should have pulled her hand back. Should have laughed off his intensity as too much too soon. But his touch felt like fire and safety all at once, and when his thumb stroked across her knuckles, her breath caught audibly. That's insane, she whispered. Probably. His eyes were dark with something that looked like hunger. But I've never been more certain of anything in my life. The next course arrived. Then the next. Minho asked her questions about her family, her childhood in Toronto before moving to Seoul, her favorite books, what made her laugh. He listened like every word mattered, like he was memorizing her. And slowly, despite every instinct telling her to run, Amara found herself relaxing, joking, even laughing when he told a dry story about a business meeting gone absurdly wrong. By the time dessert arrived, some confection of chocolate and gold leaf, 2 hours had passed without her noticing. I should go, Amara said, though she didn't move. It's late. Let me drive you home. I can take a cab. Amara. The way he said her name felt like a caress. Let me make sure you get home safely. Please. Something in his tone, the please that sounded like it cost him, made her nod. They rode the elevator down in charged silence. Minho's driver was waiting with a black Mercedes that probably cost more than Amara's entire apartment. Minho opened the door for her himself, then slid in beside her. The driver pulled into traffic without being told where to go. "How does he know where I live?" Amara asked. Minho had the grace to look slightly sheepish. "I may have asked Sujin for your address. To send flowers if tonight went well. Did it go well?" He turned to look at her in the dim interior of the car, city lights flashing across his features. "It went better than well. It was perfect. I'm wearing a hoodie with a stain on the sleeve. You're beautiful." He said it like stating a fact. "You walked into that restaurant like you owned it despite knowing you were underdressed. You didn't simper or try to impress me. You were honest and sharp and real." His hand found hers in the darkness. "Do you have any idea how rare that is in my world?" "What world is that, exactly?" His jaw tightened. "One you shouldn't be part of. One that will put you in danger just for sitting beside me." "Then why pursue this?" "Because I'm selfish." His grip on her hand tightened. "Because the thought of never seeing you again makes me want to burn the world down. Because in 33 years, I've never felt anything like what I felt the moment you walked into that restaurant." The car pulled up outside her apartment building, a modest walk-up in Hongdae. Minho got out and opened her door, offering his hand. On the sidewalk they stood too close. Close enough that Amara could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive. Close enough to see the intensity burning in his eyes. "Can I see you again?" he asked quietly. "This is crazy." "That's not a no." Amara's rational mind was screaming at her to walk away. But her heart was racing, her skin still tingling where he touched her, and something in his gaze made her feel seen in a way she'd never experienced. "Tomorrow," she heard herself say. "Coffee. Somewhere normal." His smile was slow and devastating. "Tomorrow." He lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles that seared through her. "Sleep well, Amara. Dream of me." Then he was gone, sliding back into the Mercedes that vanished into the night. Amara stood on the sidewalk, her hand still tingling from his kiss, and wondered what the hell she just agreed to. The next morning, Amara woke to find her apartment filled with flowers. Not a bouquet. Dozens of arrangements in crystal vases covering every surface. Roses, peonies, orchids, lilies. The cards all said the same thing in elegant script. "Thank you for last night." Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Good morning, beautiful. Coffee at 2. There's a place in Gangnam I want to show you." Amara stared at the message, her heart doing something complicated. She should be disturbed by the flowers, by his intensity, by how fast this was moving. Instead, she found herself smiling. "How did you get my number?" Don't be angry with her. Can be very persuasive. "The flowers are too much." "Disagree. They're not nearly enough. See you at 2. He sent an address. Amara looked it up. An exclusive cafe in the heart of Gangnam that definitely didn't take walk-ins. She spent longer than she'd admit choosing her outfit, finally settling on fitted black jeans, a cream sweater and ankle boots. She left her curls natural, added minimal makeup. If he wanted real, she'd give him real. The cafe was tucked down a quiet side street, its windows frosted for privacy. A man in a dark suit stood by the door. Security, Amara realized with a jolt. He nodded as she approached. "Miss Chen. Mr. Kong is expecting you." Inside, the cafe was empty except for Minho sitting at a corner table. He stood as she entered, and Amara's breath caught at the sight of him in casual clothes. Dark jeans, a black sweater, his hair slightly less styled. He looked younger, more approachable, but his eyes still burned with that same intensity. "You closed an entire cafe for coffee?" Amara asked as she sat. "I wanted privacy." He poured her coffee from a French press. "And I didn't want to share you with strangers." "That's insane." "You keep saying that." His mouth curved. "I'm starting to think you like it." She did. That was the problem. They talked for 3 hours. About everything and nothing. Minho asked about her art, her family, why she'd moved to Seoul. Amara found herself telling him things she rarely shared. About losing her mother young, about feeling caught between cultures, about her dreams of having her own design studio someday. And slowly Minho opened up too. About his family's expectations, the pressure of responsibility, the loneliness of his position. He didn't specify what that position was, and Amara didn't push. "I have to tell you something," he said finally, his expression growing serious. "About who I am. What I do. Okay. My family. We're not conventional businessmen. We have ties to organizations that operate outside the law. I've spent my life in that world, and I can't leave it even if I wanted to." His eyes never left hers. "Being seen with me puts a target on your back. My enemies will notice you. They'll try to use you against me." Amara's mouth went dry. "You're saying you're in the Mafia? Korean organized crime?" "Yes." He leaned forward. "I'm telling you this now because you deserve to know what you're walking into. I can offer you protection, the best security money can buy. But I can't offer you a normal life. And I'll understand if you want to walk away. You should walk away. Should run." But looking at him, at the vulnerability beneath his confession, the way he was bracing for rejection, she found she didn't want to. "This is insane," she said again. "I know. We just met. I know that too. But you're asking me to accept danger, to trust you with my safety, to potentially put my entire life at risk." "Yes." His voice was rough. "And I know I have no right to ask. But I'm asking anyway. Because the alternative, never seeing you again, is unacceptable." Amara stared at him. At this beautiful, dangerous man who'd somehow decided she was worth appending his world for. "I need time to think," she said finally. Pain flashed in his eyes, but he nodded. "Take all the time you need. I'll wait." He drove her home again. But this time, when they stood on her sidewalk, he didn't ask for another date. He just looked at her like he was memorizing her face. "Whatever you decide," he said quietly, "know that I meant what I said. Mine. And I'll keep you safe even if you choose to walk away from me." Then he was gone. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She researched the Kong family online, finding vague mentions of business interests and rumors of organized crime connections. Nothing concrete, but enough to confirm Minho hadn't been lying. She should be terrified, should be booking a flight back to Toronto. Instead, she found herself staring at her phone at his number, wondering what it said about her that danger wrapped in expensive suits made her heart race rather than run. The next day, Sujin called in a panic. "Amara, I'm so sorry. I had no idea who he really was. My cousin didn't tell me. If I'd known." "It's okay. It's not okay. The Kong family is. They're dangerous, Amara. You need to stay away from him." But that was the problem. Amara didn't want to stay away. She waited 3 days before texting him. "Coffee again? Tomorrow." His response was immediate. "Name the time and place. I'll be there. The place near my apartment. 10 a.m. And Minho. Yes. No closed cafes. No security. No flowers. Just us. Whatever you want. I'll give you anything." The next morning, Amara arrived early, nerves making her jittery. Minho walked in exactly at 10, and despite his promise, she noticed the subtle security detail positioning themselves nearby. He caught her looking and had the grace to look apologetic. "Old habits," he said, sliding into the seat across from her. "They'll keep their distance. I've been thinking about what you told me." His whole body tensed. "And? This is crazy. Absolutely insane. We barely know each other. And you're asking me to accept a life that involves danger and violence and constant security." "I know. But," she met his eyes, "I can't stop thinking about you. When I'm painting, I see your face. When I'm trying to sleep, I hear your voice. And the way you look at me," her voice softened. "No one's ever looked at me like that before. Like I'm precious. You are." He reached across the table, his hand covering hers. "You're the most precious thing in my world. We just met. And yet it's true." His thumb stroked across her knuckles. "I know this is fast. I know it's intense. But I also know I've never been more certain of anything. You're mine, Amara. You were mine from the moment you walked into that restaurant. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you. This is insane, she whispered. Say yes anyway. His voice dropped, rough with need. Say you'll give us a chance. Let me show you what we could be together. Amara looked at their joined hands, at the way his thumb continued its gentle caress, at the intensity burning in his dark eyes. She thought about the flowers, the closed cafe, the way he'd confessed his dangerous life rather than hide it. She thought about the loneliness she'd felt before meeting him, the sense that she'd been waiting for something without knowing what. Yes, she breathed. But we take this slow. Real dates. Getting to know each other. No rushing into anything. His smile was slow and triumphant and absolutely devastating. We'll go as slow as you need. Though I should warn you, I'm not good at patience when it comes to things I want. And I want you more than I've wanted anything in my life. The look in his eyes made heat pool low in Amara's stomach. This was dangerous. This man was dangerous. But for the first time in her life, Amara wanted to embrace danger rather than run from it. The following weeks unfolded like a dream Amara was afraid to wake from. Minho courted her with an intensity that should have been overwhelming but somehow felt exactly right. He showed up at her apartment with coffee every morning before she started work. He took her to quiet restaurants where they could talk for hours. He listened when she rambled about design projects and never made her feel like her dreams were too small. But he also couldn't hide what he was. The security detail that followed at a discreet distance. The phone calls he'd take in rapid Korean. His voice hard and cold. The way people moved out of his way on the street, eyes averted in fear or respect. One evening, Minho took her to an art gallery opening in Itaewon. Amara wore a simple black dress, nothing like the designer gowns on the other women, but the way Minho looked at her made her feel like the most beautiful person in the room. His hand rested possessively on her lower back as they moved through the exhibition. Tell me what you think, he murmured, nodding toward an abstract piece in blues and golds. It's technically brilliant, Amara said, studying the brushwork. But it feels empty. Like the artist was painting what they thought people wanted to see rather than what they felt. Exactly what I thought. His fingers traced small circles against her spine, sending shivers through her. You have good instincts, Mr. Kong. A woman's voice cut through the moment, sharp, cultured, dripping with false sweetness. How lovely to see you here. Minho's entire body went rigid. Amara turned to find a stunning woman in a red cocktail dress approaching, her smile not reaching her eyes. Yoon Ji-woo, Minho said flatly. I didn't know you'd be attending. Oh, I wouldn't miss it. Ji-woo's gaze slid to Amara, taking in her simple dress and natural hair with barely concealed disdain. And who is this? Amara Chen, Minho said, his arm tightening around her waist. My girlfriend. The word sent warmth flooding through Amara's chest. They hadn't put a label on it yet, but hearing him claim her so definitively made something click into place. Ji-woo's smile sharpened. How? Unexpected. I didn't think you were interested in, she paused delicately. Foreigners. Watch your tone, Minho said quietly, but there was steel beneath the words. You're speaking about someone precious to me. Of course. Ji-woo's eyes glittered with malice. Though I wonder if she knows what being with you really means. The danger. The violence. The women who came before her and couldn't handle your world. Ji-woo. I'm sure she's lovely, Ji-woo continued, addressing Amara directly now. But darling, men like Minho don't keep women like you. They get bored and move on. It's only a matter of time. Amara felt Minho's muscles coil like a predator about to strike, but she stepped forward first, her voice calm and steady. You're right that I don't fully understand his world yet. But I understand him. And I trust him. Whatever you two had in the past is exactly that. The past. So unless you have something actually important to say, we'll be moving on now. She took Minho's hand and walked away, feeling Ji-woo's shocked stare burning into her back. Once they were out of earshot, Minho pulled her into a quiet alcove, his eyes blazing. That was. he stopped, seeming to struggle for words. You defended us. Defended me. She was being cruel. She was trying to drive you away. His hands cupped her face. Most people would have run. Would have let her poison them with doubt. I'm not most people. No. His thumb brushed across her cheek. You're extraordinary. And you're mine. Then he kissed her, right there in the gallery with Seoul's elite watching. It was possessive and claiming and absolutely devastating. Amara melted into him, her hands fisting in his jacket, and for a moment, the entire world disappeared. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Minho rested his forehead against hers. Let's go home. Your home or mine. Whichever gets us alone faster. They ended up at her apartment, smaller and more intimate than his penthouse. Minho had never been inside before, and Amara watched nervously as he took in the space. Her paintings covered one wall, bright splashes of color against white. Her furniture was mismatched and comfortable. It was nothing like the luxury he was used to. I love it, he said quietly, studying one of her paintings, blues and yellows, soft shapes. This is you. Warm. Real. Beautiful. It's not much. He turned, closing the distance between them. It's perfect. Like you. The kiss this time was different. Slower. Deeper. Filled with weeks of tension and want finally unleashed. Minho's hands slid into her hair as he walked her backward toward the couch. Amara's fingers fumbled with the buttons of his shirt, desperate to feel his skin. Amara! He breathed against her mouth. Tell me to stop. Tell me we're going too fast. Don't stop. Her voice came out husky with need. Please don't stop. What followed was fire and tenderness, passion and care. Minho touched her like she was precious and breakable and absolutely necessary. He whispered her name in Korean and English, told her she was beautiful, perfect, his. And when they finally came together, Amara felt something fundamental shift inside her chest. This wasn't just attraction. This was deeper, dangerous, irrevocable. Later, they lay tangled together on her bed, Minho's arm wrapped possessively around her waist, his breath warm against her neck. Stay, Amara whispered. Don't go. His arm tightened. I'm not going anywhere. Not tonight. Not ever if you'll have me. But when morning light filtered through her curtains, Amara woke alone. The sheets beside her were cold. Panic seized her chest. Had he left? Had last night meant nothing to him? Then she heard sounds from the kitchen. She pulled on his discarded shirt and padded out to find Minho at her stove, cooking breakfast in his dress pants and nothing else. His broad back on display. You're still here, she said, relief flooding through her. He turned, his expression softening when he saw her wearing his shirt. Where else would I be? I told you, I'm not going anywhere. I thought maybe after last night, you'd have second thoughts. Minho set down the spatula and crossed to her, his hands framing her face. Amara, last night was the most important night of my life. You gave me something precious, your trust, your body, your vulnerability. I don't take that lightly. You're mine now, completely, and I'm yours. That's not changing. Promise. I promise. He kissed her forehead, then her nose, then her mouth. Now sit. I made pancakes, and they're getting cold. The next few weeks were blissful. Minho integrated himself into every corner of Amara's life. He met Sujin, who was simultaneously impressed and terrified. He accompanied Amara to client meetings, sitting quietly in the corner while she pitched designs. He even attempted to learn about art, buying books and asking her questions. But the danger he'd warned her about remained. The security detail grew more visible. Minho received threatening calls he wouldn't explain. And one night, Amara woke to find him standing at her window, tense as a bowstring. His phone pressed to his ear as he spoke in rapid, harsh Korean. When he hung up, she asked quietly, "What's wrong?" "Nothing you need to worry about." "Minho, I said I'd keep you safe." He turned, his expression fierce. "That means protecting you from my world, too. There are things you're better off not knowing." And what happens when I get caught in the crossfire of things I don't know about? He flinched like she'd struck him. That won't happen. I won't let it. But fate had other plans. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. Amara was meeting a client at a cafe in Gangnam, her usual security detail positioned discreetly nearby. She was reviewing design mock-ups when someone slid into the seat across from her. Not her client. A man she didn't recognize. Sharp-suited, cold-eyed, with a smile that made her skin crawl. Amara Chen, he said pleasantly. We need to talk about Kong Min-ho. Her pulse spiked. I don't know who you are. Park Tae-sung. I run operations in Busan. He leaned back casually, but his eyes were predatory. And I have a message for your boyfriend. He's been encroaching on territory that doesn't belong to him. I'd tell him myself, but he stopped taking my calls. I'm not involved in his business. Oh, but you are. Tae-sung's smile widened. You're his weakness, his vulnerability. And in our world, that makes you very valuable. Before Amara could respond, Min-ho's security descended. 3 men in dark suits physically lifting Tae-sung from his chair and escorting him out. One stayed with Amara. Miss Chen, we need to move you. Now. Her phone was ringing. Min-ho. She answered with shaking hands. Are you hurt? His voice was sharp with barely controlled panic. No, I'm fine. Your security got here before he could threaten you. No. I watched it happen. There was a pause. I'm coming to get you. Stay with Dong-woo until I arrive. 20 minutes later, Min-ho's Mercedes pulled up. He climbed out and Amara's breath caught at the fury and fear warring in his expression. He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. I'm sorry, he said roughly. I'm so fucking sorry. I should have anticipated this. Should have protected you better. You did protect me. Your guys were there. But Tae-sung got close enough to threaten you. He pulled back, his hands framing her face. That's unacceptable. You're moving into my penthouse tonight. No arguments. Min-ho, please. His voice cracked. I can't protect you properly when you're across the city. I need you close. I need to know you're safe. Looking at his haunted expression, Amara realized this wasn't about control. It was about terror, the fear of losing her. Okay, she whispered. I'll move in. Relief flooded his features. Thank you. God, thank you. That evening, Min-ho's people packed her entire apartment with military efficiency. By midnight, Amara stood in his penthouse. A stunning space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul, minimalist furniture, and a coldness that spoke of a man who'd never really made it a home. We'll redecorate, Min-ho said, watching her take it in. Make it ours. Your paintings on the walls. Your colors everywhere. I want this to feel like home for you. It already does, Amara said softly. Because you're here. He kissed her then, deep and claiming, and they made love on his couch with the city lights glittering below them. But the peace didn't last. The next day, Min-ho had business he couldn't postpone. Stay here, he ordered, his tone brooking no argument. Security is everywhere. Don't leave the penthouse for any reason. I'm not a prisoner, Min-ho. No. You're the most important person in my world, and I'm not taking chances with your safety. He kissed her forehead. I'll be back by evening. Promise me you'll stay. I promise. But that afternoon, Soo-jin called in hysterics. Amara, I need you. Please. It's an emergency. What happened? I can't explain over the phone. Just can you meet me, please? I'm at the hospital. Fear spiked through Amara. Which hospital? Seoul National. Please hurry. Amara grabbed her bag and headed for the door, but Min-ho's head of security stopped her. Miss Chen, Mr. Kong said. My best friend is in the hospital. I'm going. Then we'll escort you. 3 security guards accompanied her to the hospital, their presence drawing stares. Amara texted Min-ho. Soo-jin had an emergency. At Seoul National Hospital. Your security is with me. No response. He must be in a meeting. She found Sujin in the waiting room, pale but unharmed. What happened? Are you okay? I'm fine. I'm so sorry, I panicked over nothing. They thought it might be appendicitis, but it was just gas. Sujin grabbed her hands. I shouldn't have scared you like that. Relief flooded through Amara. It's okay. I'm just glad you're all right. They talked for a few minutes before Sujin was called back for final tests. Amara stepped outside to get coffee from the vending machine, her security detail trailing behind. She never saw the van until it was too late. Men in masks grabbed her from behind, hands clamping over her mouth before she could scream. Minho's security fought back, but there were too many attackers. Amara felt the sharp prick of a needle in her neck, and then the world went dark. She woke in a windowless room, her hands zip-tied behind her back, her head pounding. Park Tae-sung sat across from her, that same cold smile on his face. Welcome back, Miss Chen. I hope the accommodations aren't too uncomfortable. Terror clawed up Amara's throat. What do you want? I want Kong Min-ho to understand that he can't expand into my territory without consequences. Tae-sung leaned forward. You're going to help me teach him that lesson. Meanwhile, Min-ho was in a meeting with his lieutenants when his phone buzzed with a video message. He opened it and his blood turned to ice. Amara tied to a chair, her face pale with fear. Tae-sung's voice. You have 12 hours to withdraw from Busan and pay 50 billion won in compensation. Or I start sending her back to you in pieces. The phone shattered in Min-ho's grip. Find her, he said, his voice deadly calm. Call in every favor. Activate every contact. Tear this city apart if you have to. But find her. Min-ho, his second-in-command said carefully. If we mobilize that aggressively, it'll start a war. Then we'll have a war. Min-ho stood, his expression absolutely murderous. Tae-sung took what's mine. He signed his own death warrant. Now find her before I lose what's left of my sanity. 6 hours later they had a location, an abandoned warehouse in Incheon. Min-ho assembled his best fighters, armed them to the teeth, and descended on the warehouse like the wrath of God. The firefight was brutal and swift. Min-ho moved through Tae-sung's men with lethal precision, his only thought getting to Amara. When he finally kicked open the door to the room where she was held, his knees nearly gave out with relief. She was there, alive, terrified but unharmed. Tae-sung tried to use her as a human shield, but Amara, brave, brilliant Amara, threw herself sideways, giving Min-ho a clear shot. He took it without hesitation. Then he was across the room, cutting her bonds, pulling her into his arms as she sobbed against his chest. I've got you, he murmured into her hair. You're safe. I'm here. I've got you. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left the penthouse. I'm so sorry. Shoo. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. He pulled back to cup her face, his thumbs wiping away her tears. But I need you to understand something. I can't lose you. I won't survive it. So from now on you stay close. You let me protect you. You trust that I'll burn the world down before I let anyone hurt you again. I trust you, she whispered. I love you. The words stopped his heart. Say it again. I love you, Min-ho. His kiss was desperate and claiming and filled with every emotion he'd been too afraid to voice. I love you too. God, I love you so much it terrifies me. You're everything, Amara. Everything. He carried her out of that warehouse, past the bodies of men who'd threatened her, and took her home. 4 days afterward, Min-ho barely let her out of his sight. He worked from home, held her while she slept, woke from nightmares about losing her. And slowly, Amara realized that being with him meant accepting all of this, the danger, the violence, the intensity. But it also meant being loved with a fierceness that took her breath away. One evening, as they sat on his balcony watching the sunset, Min-ho pulled out a small velvet box. I know it's fast, he said quietly. I know conventional wisdom says we should wait. But I've never done anything conventional, and I'm not starting now. He opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring. Marry me, Amara. Let me spend the rest of my life keeping you safe and making you happy. Let me be yours officially. Completely. Tears streamed down her face. Yes. God, yes. He slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, then kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. They married 3 months later in a private ceremony with only close friends and family. Sujin cried through the entire thing. Minho's family accepted Amara with surprising warmth. And when Minho said his vows, promising to love and protect her until his dying breath, Amara knew with absolute certainty that she'd made the right choice. 6 months after the wedding, Amara stood in their penthouse bathroom, staring at a positive pregnancy test with shaking hands. Minho found her there, and his expression cycled through shock, wonder, and fierce joy. We're having a baby. His voice was raw with emotion. Yes. He dropped to his knees, pressing his face against her still flat stomach. I'm going to be a father. We're going to be parents. Are you happy? He looked up at her with tears in his eyes. Happy doesn't cover it. Terrified, overwhelmed, grateful beyond words. But yes, Amara. I'm so incredibly happy. As her pregnancy progressed, Minho became impossibly more protective. He hired specialists, renovated an entire wing of the penthouse for a nursery, and read parenting books with the same intensity he applied to business negotiations. And when their daughter was born, perfect and healthy with Amara's curls and Minho's eyes, he held her like she was the most precious thing in the universe. She's beautiful, Amara whispered from the hospital bed, exhausted but glowing. She's perfect, like her mother. Minho sat beside her, their daughter cradled carefully in his arms. Thank you, for giving me a family I never thought I'd have. Thank you for not giving up on me, Amara replied. For pursuing me even when I tried to sabotage that first date. He laughed softly. Best sabotage attempt in history. You walked in wearing that ridiculous hoodie and completely destroyed me. I was yours from that first moment, Amara. And I'll be yours until I draw my last breath. She leaned against him, looking at the family they'd built from that impossible first date, and smiled. I love you. I love you more. Both of you. My girls. My whole world. And as Seoul's lights glittered below them, Kang Minho held his wife and daughter close and thanked whatever fate had brought a woman in ripped jeans and an oversized hoodie into his life. She'd been trying to sabotage a date. Instead, she'd saved his soul. And that, he thought as Amara drifted to sleep against his shoulder, was the greatest victory of his life. Please like, share, and subscribe to Unfold Korean Stories for more emotional romance tales that'll make your heart race. Drop a comment below telling us what you thought of Amara and Minho's story, and let us know what kind of romance you want to see next.